Section 15 of the Family Kitchen Gardener. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Nani Blylaven. The Family Kitchen Gardener by Robert Buist. Section 15. Lavender, Lavandula spica, is a very hardy plant and a native of the south of Europe. It may be readily increased by planting slips or cuttings of the young shoots in the spring. The common lavender has been cultivated for ages past. The fragrant smell of the flower is well known, and to most persons is very agreeable. To the taste it is bitterish, warm, and somewhat pungent. The leaves are weaker and less grateful. The flowers are often employed as a perfume and medicinally as mild stimulants and corroborants in several complaints, both internally and externally. They are also sometimes used in the form of a conserve. Pennyroyal mint, Mentha pelagium, is a native of watery places. It is easily propagated by parting the roots in spring. They succeed best in strong moist soil, and when planted on the edges of rivulets, ponds, etc., pennyroyal has a warm, pungent flavor, somewhat similar to mint but more acrid and less agreeable both in taste and smell. It possesses the general properties of other mints, but is supposed to be of less efficacy as a stomachic. This herb is less frequently used now for medicinal purposes than formerly. Peppermint, Mentha labitata, a native of watery places in various parts of the world. This variety has more penetrating smell than any of the other mints and a much stronger and warmer taste. It may be increased with facility by young offset plants or shoots, or by parting the roots in spring, or by planting cuttings during any of the summer months in a moist soil. Peppermint is as much cultivated for medicinal purposes as well as for distillation. Its stomachic and carminative qualities render it useful in flatulent colics, hysterical affections, and retchings, in which it acts as a cordial. The essence of peppermint was formerly considered an elegant medicine, and a cordial is made from this plant, which is by many people much admired. A native of the south of Europe, the Levant, and found occasionally in the Grecian islands. It is propagated from seed or by planting slips or cuttings in the early spring months. Rosemary has a fragrant aromatic smell and a warm pungent taste. The leaves and tender tops are the strongest. The flowers by themselves are much weaker but more agreeable. This herb is reckoned one of the most powerful of these plants, which stimulate and corroborate the nervous system. It has therefore been recommended in various affections supposed to proceed from debilities. It is generally given in the form of an infusion. Rue, Ruta graveolens, is a hardy shrub and a native of the south of Europe. It is propagated in a similar manner to the rosemary and requires the same cultivation. The common rue has a strong, ungrateful odor and a bitter, hot, penetrating taste. The leaves are so acrid as to irritate and inflame the skin if they are much handled. Rue was much used by the ancients, who ascribed it to many excellent qualities. It is employed by some as tea, and externally in various kinds of fermentations. A conserve made by beating the fresh leaves with thrice their weight of sugar is the most commodious form for using. The herb in substance, it is a powerful astringent and adapted to phlegmatic habits or weak and hysterical constitutions suffering from retarded or obstructive secretions. Sage, Salvia officinalis, is a native of the south of Europe, a perennial, and readily increased by planting slips or cuttings in April. Sage has a strong, fragrant smell and a warm, bitterish, aromatic taste. It was in ancient times considered a remedy of general efficacy in all diseases. At present, however, few practitioners consider it as an article of much importance in medicine. Although frequently employed as a sudorific, it seems to have no advantage in this respect over many other plants. The Chinese, who are said to have experienced the good effect of sage, value it highly and prefer it to their own tea. The Dutch have long been in the habit of drying sage leaves in great quantities and taking them out to China, where for every pound of sage they get in exchange 4 pounds of tea. It is much used in cookery of various descriptions. Scurvy grass, Cochledria officinalis, common on the seacoast of Europe and not unfrequent in mountainous countries far inland. It is biennial and propagated from seed sown in the spring or by parting the roots and planting them in light, moist soil. This plant has a warm, acrid, bitter taste and a pungent, rather unpleasant smell when bruised. It has been considered as one of the most effectual of all the antiscorbutics when eaten as a salad with watercress, etc. Sorrel, Rumex acetosella. Some species of the sorrel is found in every part of the world. Wherever seen, it indicates a poor, sour soil. It is particularly a French dish, and considered an effectual remedy against scurvy. Its general use as in salads is occasionally boiled as a sauce, and may be cooked similarly to spinach. It is increased by seeds or division of the roots. Plant in a light, rich, moist soil in rows 10 inches apart. They will furnish a plentiful supply of leaves the same season. They afterwards only require to be kept clean and to have the seed stems cut down as well as the overgrown leaves in autumn. Tansy, Tanastium vulgare, a native of banks, hedges, and borders of fields in most parts of the Middle Europe. It is perennial and easily propagated by seed and also by parting roots in spring and planting them in a light soil or situation. Tansy has a strong aromatic smell and a bitter taste. It is tonic and stomachic and has the usual qualities attributed to bitters of the warm or aromatic kind. It was formerly much used in puddings, but has of late been neglected and is now seldom used, either as a culinary vegetable or a medicinal herb. Wormwood, Artemisia absinthium. It is a hardy perennial and may be propagated by slips in March or October, or raised from seed sown after they are ripe. The leaves have a strong offensive smell and a very bitter nauseous taste. The flower equally bitter, but it's nauseous. Wormwood is a moderately warm stomachic and cooperant, and for these purposes it was formerly in common use, but now it has given place to bitters of a less ungrateful kind. Wormwood was formerly much used by brewers instead of hops to give the bitter taste to their malt liquors and to preserve them. This plant very powerfully resists putrefaction and is made a principal ingredient in antiseptic fermentations. Applications of our remarks to various parts of the United States. The word spring, when applied to the season, is everywhere known. When thus applied to us in the preceding pages, it is intended to convey to the reader the period of the year when the buds of the earliest trees appear green. Early in spring is indicated by the buds on the trees beginning to swell. Late in spring, when the leaves have put forth. About Philadelphia, spring generally begins from the 10th to the 15th of March. In South Carolina, the northern parts of Georgia and Alabama, spring begins 5 weeks earlier than it does with us. In the southern parts of Virginia and Kentucky, spring generally opens about the 20th of February. In Massachusetts and the upper part of New York, spring opens from the 25th of March to the 1st of April. By these observations being kept in view, the details of this work may be made applicable to any part of the United States. End of section 15.